we had 1.2 million immigrants come into Canada last year. I'm going to put forward that we're having growing pains. I know my own doctor is quitting his practice to look after his parents, and which is admirable. But that means I have to now look for a GP, and I think many Canadians, especially on the East Coast, are having this problem with doctors. I foresee an experience like the immigrants coming in. I think there's going to be a clash between people who are here and the immigrants coming here because of our ability not to have the infrastructure to house them, or for rents for the young people. I remember in the 70s when the Vietnamese came in, they assimilated into the country, keeping their own values. The Sikhs in the 80s, quite a bit, but this time around, I mean, it's a touchy subject, immigration. However, I think we have quite the growing pains, and I'm seeing a lot of, even amongst my own friends, some comments and stuff. And do you have any thoughts on how we should deal with this?
Yeah, and everyone knows the solutions.
What's the solution, Paul?
Well, number one, fast track immigrants who already have medical degrees and vet them way faster, and create clinics all over the place that are easy for people to get to. I mean, how many skilled doctors are driving taxi cabs or whatever?
Well,
bicycling food all over the damn place.
Yeah, a lot of Uber doctors.
Number two, they should.
Dr. Ubers?
Yeah.
Just before you go to number two, based on that, so we have a system in place where only so many Canadian citizens can have spots at the university for doctors.
Yeah, but why don't increase? Do you know how many doctors they had in Cuba? Cuba's medical system and the doctors was every as good as Canadian.
They have great doctors.
Thousands of doctors. They were, the amount of training that was happening there.
We're not necessarily Cubans into the country, though, right? And
I'm not saying that's the solution. The solution is to train way more doctors, and there's the Canadian Medical Association for some reason doesn't want to do it.
There you go. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of forces at the provincial levels and maybe federal, depending who's in power, who really want to privatize stuff. So the more screwed up and underfunded the medical system is, they think the stronger will be the demand for private medical care, even though people outside Canada don't know that Canadian GPs are private. It's not like, in some countries where everybody's part of the public system, Canadian doctors are actually individual owners of their own medical practice, unless they work at hospitals.
Right.
But they don't want to tax wealthy people enough to fund the system well enough. I mean, it's straightforward. We didn't used to have this problem, and it wasn't because there wasn't immigration. There used to be enough money in the system, and now we have OR rooms empty because they don't have enough nurses to staff the ORs. I mean, it's insane.
The foreign students, though, for universities and stuff, they pay so much more money that they're a cash grab for the universities.
Yeah.
Right, versus citizens who are here trying to become a doctor.
And I know. Tell me why countries like, I believe Norway is one of them.
Right.
They not only have free university for their own citizens, they have free university for anybody that applies to go there. I mean,
Trudeau's getting blamed for this, of course. Well, he's the government. Looks like I don't think the other parties have a solution that I've heard either.
Well, the Conservatives have a solution. Fuel anti-immigrant sentiment and exacerbate the contradictions as much as possible and use it to get elected the way Trump is.
Well, the stuff that Pierre is saying, it doesn't sound like he's for that. He's for having temporary foreign workers for the corporations that need them.
Yeah, but
So
the solution obviously is not less immigration, which a lot of conservatives are promoting. In fact, we need more people now. We have a demographic vacuum here. Canada's depopulating, but there needs to be a methodology to it that supports the social safety net, and it requires, real taxation of the wealthy. The main thing people have to understand about Canada, is our audience mostly Canadian or American here?
American and Mexican and Europe. So
Anyway, people have to understand that the real power in Canada is a handful of big banks. And the banking power here is even more monopolized and centralized than in the United States. Even though there it's big, but here we have 4 or 5 banks, and they dominate the economy and actually really dominate the politics. But they're very good at keeping their profile down.
yeah,
But they're there, to defend Canadian corporate interests, elite interests, and means the same thing about lower taxes. And if the way to get lower taxes and strengthen the banking corporate hand here is to force attention on immigration and blame immigrants, it's an old game.
yes, it is. It's an old game, but we also have consolidation. The powers that be let people consolidate. What happened to the Competition Act, right? We have Loblaws. They own all the suppliers. They might own a lot of the farmers as well. And then they're saying their prices are raised because of the suppliers, yet they own the middle part, the stockades and the suppliers. So they're making a profit on both ends, the supply plus selling to the public.
Well, there's something that could be done in the U.S. and in Canada. Why don't they use the idea of like a war profiteering tax?
Sure.
And, just find out what were the profits pre-pandemic.
Right.
And tax post-pandemic profits, which are seen to be higher. Certainly the prices are higher, and tax them at like 93, 95%. Like, make it not worthwhile.
You're going back to the Eisenhower tax rate is what you're doing, right? Which was phenomenally successful. And plus, they had free education.
Or another solution I even like buy Metro or something, which is the other grocery chain. Just create a publicly owned grocery chain.
Well, that's what a co-op's supposed to be, right?
Yeah, or take some of the co-op system and make it
right. And IGA, the Independent Grocers Association, is now Sobeys for the main part.
Yeah, I mean, if you had a publicly owned grocery chain,
right?
You took out excessive profit and just made enough profit to keep the thing to invest and modernize and such and pay better wages. You could force the price of food down. You could do that. It doesn't have to be just in food.
Paul, are you like Tucker Carlson, where you buy your own groceries? I'm just.
I'm not. Your Tucker Carlson and I are in the same species, so I don't like. Yeah, I along with my wife, I buy groceries. Yeah.
All right. So the quality of groceries that are in the stores right now, like that we should be having last year's apples, and I'm sure they're from 2 years ago, and California lettuce in the summertime in Alberta shouldn't be a thing. We should have local farmers supplying to the grocery stores.
Unless you go to an upper end store and pay tons more.
Well, I think all our grocery stores are now upper end, or at least they tell themselves that, right?
Let's just cut to the chase here.
Cut to the chase, Paul.
Solution is public ownership and democratization. We have lots of good models in Canada of publicly owned things that really work. Like in Ontario, we have the LCBO. In BC, I think you've got a pretty successful auto insurance plan.
Yep.
Publicly owned stuff can work. It can keep prices down. And there's no reason why we shouldn't extend the concept of public ownership into many sectors of the economy. Although I'll tell you the most important one, create a publicly owned bank that can compete with the big banks and start to use capital to invest in productive stuff, not speculation, reduce fees, stop going on stupid acquisitions in the United States, if we're talking Canada.
Well, yeah, it's CN Rails. I think they bought Burlington, and
we don't talk about this very much. Like even the NDP. When's the last time you heard them talk about public ownership?